Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're back with the Warriors of Chaos, going to be taking on the Tomb Kings. So let's get to the army compositions. I've got a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Fire up on a dragon here, because of course the Chaos Dragon does do fire damage. It's also got very heavy armor piercing. We're going to augment that with Cascading Fire Cloak, and I've also brought the Sword of Anti-Heroes for an additional 20% AP and weapon damage. So totaling, that's going to be what, 40% AP, 20% overall weapon damage. And then because Tomb King's characters are weak to fire, we're going to stack that effect with the Kindle Flame when we're popping that Cascading Fire Cloak, giving us a, 50% roughly, more like 47, 48 total weakness to fire on your opposing character, as long as it's not Khatet. But being that my opponent has the followers of Nagash, I can pretty much guarantee that his general is going to be flammable, and Ol Arkan is indeed flammable. We can see he has that 25% weakness to fire here, so yeah, he's going to get hurt very bad by the dragon on the charge here, so that's kind of the idea with this build. For the infantry corps, we've got Marauders, Mirror Guard in the center, good old aspiring champions to help kind of anchor leadership here, because the Tomb Kings do cause fear pretty much army-wide, as do the Vampire Counts. We've also got two Chosen with Halberds to provide an elite anti-large armor piercing. Infantry corps, we've got the Summoners of Rage as well, of course, very strong pick, and three Marauder Horsemen with throwing axes for an auxiliary. For my opponent's force here, he's got two units of Carrion. Front line is Skeleton Spearmen and Tomb Guard with the Kepler Guard as well. Looks like some Tomb Guard in the rear, more Skeleton Spears, in fact the Scorpion Legion. He's also got the Chosen of the Gods, a regiment of now Ushabti Grapos, Blessed Legion, and another unit of Skeleton Archers, with, of course, Arkan the Black and a Khemrian War Sphinx. So, without further ado, let's get the battle underway. And we get a little bit of positioning here as my opponent's deployed pretty far back. I'm going to go ahead and take this high ground advantage and then push towards him. Kind of do a little bit of skirmishing here, although I'm not crazy about wasting my ammo on these Carrion here. They're not going to be the best targets for these throwing axes, but nonetheless, we'll be able to get in there and get a little bit of work done. The Chaos Sorcerer, Lord of Fire, such a mouthful. Good old flaming buddy here. He's going to go over, kind of push these Carrion away. I want to try and protect my horsemen as much as possible. Not that the Carrion will beat them in melee. They'll just take a long time to go down. Carrion and they have pretty similar stats to Fellbats, except they have more weapon strength, but pretty good melee defense. Okay, melee attack, not the best at 26, but 40 weapon strength, not too bad with 10 AP. That's actually pretty good. 46 melee defense, so if you can somehow augment their melee attack, which unfortunately the Tomb Kings don't have too many melee attack buffs. I think only Barona's Time Warp from the Lore of Light. Near miss from that fireball there. Doesn't make full contact, but still does some good damage to Arkan. These Carrion are going to come down. I bring my Dragon in just to kind of do some shock damage, although this is a little bit risky. My opponent doesn't have any real fast attack units to punish me for it, so I can go ahead and try and push those Carrion off a little bit there. Charges and some other Marauders take advantage of their small charge bonus, 24. Not anything crazy, but it is something. To try and see those Carrion off there, at least set them to crumbling. Unfortunately, they are still holding their leadership together, but we're going to get the infantry force advancing here. And one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of the Kepler Guard in general, and particularly in this matchup, I mean, they're a decent regiment of renown, but it's 36 melee defense for a unit of this cost. They only have 90 unit models, and they only have 50 armor, and they're weak to fire. I know a lot of other people are really crazy about the Kepler Guard, but I have seen them struggle to perform, and particularly in this matchup against, like, Chosen with great weapons, Chosen with Halberds, they're just going to get their brakes beaten off. They just really don't trade well upward because of their low AP stats. Meanwhile, the Dragon comes in, deals a ton of damage to Arkan right off the bat. Arkan's pretty much in dire straits right off the bat, but once that charge bonus wears off, Arkan's got okay melee defense. The Sorcerer Lord's only got about 46 melee attack, and Arkan, very well played here, summons these Skeleton Warriors to help protect him. Kitty comes over to bully the old Dragon, and yeah, I'm going to overcommit a little bit here and try and stay in and go after Arkan, but my Chaos Sorcerer Lord, actually at this point, the tides have turned a little bit. I'm starting to take a lot of damage. The Chosen of the Gods here, these Ushabti Grapos, going to focus in on him as well, and the Tomb Guard coming over, so we need to desperately get back up in the air. Spirit Leech from Arkan as well. Of course, going to be very dangerous. That Sorcerer Lord doesn't have any way of mitigating that damage or healing it, so a little bit unfortunate there. So all things considered, that trade was pretty even at the end of the day. That being said, my opponent's infantry corps is really going to have a hard time dealing with the inexorable advance of the Chosen and these Mirror Guard here as well. There's just really nothing on the Tomb King's infantry roster that can cut through these guys. You really have to use ranged fire, and unfortunately my opponent's range fire is currently focused on other units, which granted are a huge threat, like these Summoners of Rage, who are about to get a super juicy Chain Lightning here, which not only was it cast excuse me, in a very good spot, but it actually gets a very favorable pathing for me. Kind of comes back over here excuse me, and gets some really good damage done right on top of those Tomb Guard with halberds. So very favorable for me. Shopti being summoned up in the back line. Unfortunately, Chosen with halberds aren't going to care too much. The Marauder Horsemen trying to be used in melee a little bit here, just to kind of tie down these Skeleton Archers. The Blessed Legion actually have okay combat stats. Actually, the 13 melee attack, that's pretty poor. They won't do much, but they'll be able to hold for a little bit due to the fact that they're unbreakable. That being said, these Chosen of the Gods and these other units still trying to hold out. The balance of power, interestingly enough, in Tomb King's favor, despite the fact that the Chosen are pushing through super hard right now. The Arcan is still alive, and he's in relatively good spirits, but a rogue fireball from the Chaos Sorcerer Lord who came back from routing is going to come in and do a good amount of damage to him, enough that he's pretty close to crumbling, down to only about 300 HP. And the dragon smells blood in the water. He's going to come over. Arcan does get a Spirit Leech on the Dragon Lord, so, you know, a true wizard's duel to the death here. But, yeah, Arcan is going to see the end of days here. Unfortunately, with the dragon coming down, one little swipe of the tail, little breath, and down he goes. That being said, the Sorcerer Lord's down to less than 300 HP, so he's not dead, but he's definitely going to run for the Chaos Hills over there. So at this point, both armies are general-less. However, the balance of power has shifted in my favor as the Chosen keep up their inexorable advance. We've cut through the last of the Tomb Guard over there, and pretty much it's just the Khemri and War Sphinx left at this point, which granted is almost completely healthy, but there's the Mirror Guard here. We've got the Chosen with halberds as well. Both units relatively healthy. A few Summoners of Rage, although, there's 4 here, probably very low on HP. Yeah, only about 700 HP between the 4 of them, but still. Aspiring champions to help hold the leadership together. Of course, despite the fact that the leadership is gone in terms of the general, they still do have the encourage trait, so definitely glad I brought them. They were able to kind of hold the leadership here together. Chosen, they're not immune to psychology. They do have pretty good leadership, so it's hard to tear out them, especially in this type of situation where they're surrounding a monster rather than getting like rear charged or something, but still nice to have that reassuring presence of the aspiring champions to help hold things together. And they're going to kind of act as line breakers here to break up the skeletons attempting to reinforce here. But yeah, it's not going to go too well enough. Man, aspiring champions just look so awesome. They're one of my favorite looking units on the Chaos roster. Just these giant glowing blades, these hulking, you know, like 10-foot tall warriors. It's awesome. Just completely awesome in every way. But yeah, at this point, Kitty unfortunately is crumbling, and it's going to be GG for the Tomb Kings. Generally, I think it's a pretty uphill battle for the Tomb Kings. I wonder how Daka Kalita build might have done against this Chaos build here. The dragon is definitely a big target. Same thing with like Shaggoths and other things like that. Granted, you can really push through pretty aggressively and get on top of the Bone Giants, but yeah, I'd be interested to see. I have tried it myself a handful of times and had a bit of mixed results, but yeah. Anyway, fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. In terms of the breakdown here, yeah, the Mirror Guard cleaned up a lot of skeletons. Both the Chosen with halberds racking up XP chevrons and just pushing through. Because my opponent's ranged force was occupied on the dragon and then alternately the Summoners, and the Marauder Horsemen were also doing a really good job kind of pushing through and tying a lot of them down for much of the game as well. Just kind of allowed those Chosen with halberds to push through the infantry line and then get in on the juicy targets in the back line. Dragon Boy and Arcan unfortunately traded, which, you know, at the end of the day, is not too bad. I think Dragon Boy is probably a little bit more expensive, likely, but the Summoners of Rage, man, 190 kills, most of those, of course, coming from that epic Chain Lightning that was just, oh, man, beautiful. Sometimes, you know, the dice gods are in your favor, for sure, so, anyway, for my opponent, the Khemri and War Sphinx actually did pretty well here. We were kind of chatting after the battle, and he said that he'd probably prefer to take a Prince on a Camarine War Sphinx instead. I think that's probably a pretty good play. I mean, he's still flammable, he'll still take a lot of damage from the dragon, but he has a much bigger health pool, and he has the AP and combat stats to kind of fight back a little bit as well. In terms of, like I said before, maybe Daka Kalita would work against this kind of chaos build, although I would have to try it myself to really say for certain. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.